Now, you're watching Wave 3 News Listens Live.
And it is a celebration.
With your host, John Ramsey.
And welcome into the Monday edition of Wave 3 Listens Live. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, a great Father's Day. We have some good information for you today. Speaking of dad or perhaps mom, don't go broke in a nursing home. That's what it's all about. Don't do it. That's what it's all about. With me now is the founder of Elder Advisers, and that is Larry Weiss, who is with us once again. We're going to talk about what happens in a workshop. We're going to talk about your questions. In fact, today Larry has allowed me to open up the phone lines, 571-5263. If you have any questions about that transition from whether it be assisted living or long-term care, then you're the man to
I am the man, John. Thank you for saying so. For all of Kentuckiana here at Wave 3 Listens Live, don't go broke in a nursing home, John. You don't have to do it. I don't want you to do it. You don't have to do it.
No, you don't have to do it. And in fact, what I love about what you do at Elder Advisors, there is no one else like them. And the reason being is it's turnkey. It's every question you could have, whether it be legal strategies, whether it be financial strategies, whatever the case may be, you guys can help. And there are a lot of moving parts. I think sometimes people assume, well, when I get to that, I'll be okay.
Right.
You really do have to be proactive. It's important, isn't it?
You do,
yes.
Absolutely. And I was meeting a lady this morning at 9 o'clock where it's more of a pre-crisis plan. Mom is home, but she's just not really doing too well. So we're already kind of mapping out some financial issues to address. And of course, with financial, often there's a tax question. And I kind of pointed over to my cabinet with all the different cards, and I said, that's why there's a CPA. You know, Doug York from Rutherford Moss has been on the show, the CPA. I said, these questions you're asking are tax questions. When we get to that point, I'm going to send you to Rutherford Moss for the tax questions. She was talking about home health care. I said, that's going to be Nancy Galloway at Senior Helpers. I was pointing to her brochure. When we get to legal, that's always going to be Steve Langdon and Neely Stevenson. But for right now, we're just going to do some basic financials because there's always going to be a financial component, or almost always a financial component, to protect those assets so families don't go broke in a nursing home. That's why we're doing the workshops tonight. We're excited. The calls have really been tremendous this morning and over the weekend. We're doing our workshop tonight at the 4 Points by Sheraton on Crenton Drive at 6 o'clock. It's a free workshop. Come out, have fun. Thank you, Tammy. And she's the producer of the show, by the way, John Ramsey. Yeah. And then, of course,
thank you, Larry.
Well, John, you know, my shoulders are bent over because I'm carrying the weight of this show right now. But anyway, 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn at Clarksville on Broadway off Veterans Parkway. Don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to, because the reality is for husbands and wives, Steve Langdon, the attorney, likes to call it special exceptions. We can protect all the assets for a husband and wife if one spouse goes into a nursing home. For a single person, we can protect about half of those assets, even if they're in a nursing home. Well, half of something's better than all of nothing. And that's what we do, but you have to do it the right way. The biggest problem we have is complacency, or people are operating off a barbershop law or beauty shop law, things that they've been told to barbershop. It's well-intentioned, but it's almost always wrong, John. You don't have to do the silly things that people are told time and time again at the barbershop or at the beauty shop. Do it the correct way. Listen to Mr. Langdon. That's why the workshops are so important. Because the other thing is, first of all, you know, my publicist was supposed to take care of this. Excuse me, John. My publicist put down there. I have to put a shout out because I'm telling you what, John, the community of Wave 3 Listens Live loves John Ramsey and Larry Weiss, by the way, right here. Okay, I have to give a shout out to the seasoned citizens at First Virginia Avenue Baptist Church. They love John Ramsey, but really love Larry Weiss. Well, love the show. I told them I'd give a shout out to the ladies there. I think Marilyn Johnson's my girl there. So they had me out last week. Loved them, had a great time. I think they're going to have me back in the fall. Don't forget to call Marilyn because I will come. There's the camera right there. You keep moving, I'll be there.
And I know why they love you. You know what is, to me,
I'm shy and introverted.
What I love about Elder Advisors is the fact that this isn't a topic that a lot of us are comfortable with. It's not something we look forward to. We always want to put it on the back burner. However, when something does happen, and hopefully you get in front of this prior to a crisis situation, but if you do not get in front of this, then you need someone, regardless, who knows the answers, because there's so many moving pieces and different laws, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, and then also the financial strategies as well. All of that is takes place, and you keep putting it off. You go, oh, you know, mom and dad are great. You know, she's Superman woman and he's Superman, but you know, that's not reality.
It's not reality. I'll have people that've been married 47 years, and I'll ask them, do you have a power of attorney for mom and dad? You know, and of course I do the financial, I don't do the legal. Mr. Langdon and Neely Stevenson does the legal, and they go, well, no, we're going to wait till we need it. I'm like, folks, you don't understand it. The time you need it, you can't get it.
That's right. Yeah, if something happens, God forbid.
Oh, it's terrible.
We don't want that to happen, but if something happens where mom or dad can't respond and can't give you power of attorney, then you're going through this long process that's not needed. This really helps cut to the chase.
It does. And last week when Steve was able to be on the show, we were talking about the fact that he went above and beyond the call of duty. He drove 3 hours one way, or 2.5 hours, to Greenville, Kentucky to get mom, to help with the family, for mom to sign a power of attorney. And my thought is, I'm glad that it happened, but shame on mom, because they shouldn't have had to wait that long to do that. But Steve made it happen, and kudos to Steve Langdon and Amelia Stevenson. But that's the type of skill set that we bring to the table.
That brings an interesting question, though. Who is the onus on? I mean, is it on mom or dad to say, hey, I need one of my children I need to grant them power of attorney, or is it maybe the matriarch or patriarch of the children to take over that responsibility?
Well, it usually falls to the child that's kind of self-appointed to do it. In this case, it was a daughter, and it was very stressful for her, and that's the kind of onus that the parents impose on the families when they don't step up and do a basic planning tool. That's what Mr. Langdon talks about at the workshop. And it's a free workshop tonight. It's at 4 Points by Sheraton on Crittenden Drive at 6 o'clock. Tammy, you're on fire with those panels. Thank you very much, Tammy. So we're doing that tonight at 6 o'clock at the 4 Points by Sheraton. And then tomorrow at Indiana at 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn on Broadway, just off Veterans Parkway. And what we end up doing at the end of the workshops is we will schedule private free consultations for families. And families will come in, and sometimes they're there for a few minutes, which is a segue to my New Haven twins. I've got two brothers, they're identical, and they're not really, but we call them the New Haven twins, right? And they came to workshop literally 2-3 years ago. And this is really a testament to Steve Langdon, because we spend time, what I find is most people talk at people, but not to them, and much less listen. Steve listened to the brothers. There wasn't a lot of money, and Steve did some basic legal work, kind of got some stuff taken care of, got mom on Medicaid. That was 3 years ago. They called out of the blue. There we are at the workshop. Is Mr. Weiss the most dynamic, beautiful man you've ever seen, John Ramsey? I'm not putting you on the spot.
I will say this, loaded with great information, and he delivers it in an entertaining way. Is that okay? Does that work?
Yeah, that's good enough, John.
These seminars can be boring.
They are boring, but
this one is not.
It is not. It's tough stuff, and there's Mr. Langdon, McNeely Stevenson, Denise Manicky, my business partner. Denise's skill set's a former 10-year Medicaid supervisor of the state of Kentucky. Kentuckiana, come out to the workshops tonight. It's a lot of fun. You're going to learn some things. And yeah, we do have fun, but don't mistake me for being silly, for being less an advocate for families, because you could not have. I'm the guy that meets people 7 o'clock at night. I'm the guy that meets families 10 o'clock Saturday morning, because no one else will do that. These families are stressed. They're the sandwich generation. Sure. They're working during the week. I accommodate their needs to get that schedule done, because otherwise they're burning through $7,000 to $8,000 a month, and they necessarily don't have to do that. They don't have to do that.
Let's talk a little bit about the topics that will be covered before we go to break. If you're interested in these workshops, and you should be, it isn't something everyone loves talking about, but it's something that's going to happen to probably about all of us.
It can at some point or another, yes.
Yeah, so with that being said, what topics will we cover? We talk about legal strategies.
Mr. Langdon certainly discusses legal strategies. He's the attorney dealing with the legal component. We talk about pre-crisis planning, which is the lady this morning. Mom's at home. What can we do to maybe get some things lined up? That's pre-crisis planning. Man, I'm sorry, but that guy's just so easy to look at right now. I'm forgetting what I'm talking about. We got a signal from the producer right there. So then the other extreme is pre-planning. You know, I went through this 15 years ago with my parents. I don't want my kids to have to go through that. And there's certainly crisis planning. What happens when mom goes to the nursing home? And on the third segment today, I'm delighted to have the folks from Green Valley Nursing Home in Indiana come out, and they're going to talk about a nursing home, that it's actually a great place that cares for families, they care for the employees. There could not be a better place for families than Green Valley, because they are so representative of the care and the level of care they bring to families and helping them navigate these issues.
I'm looking forward to that. Part of the team. Green Valley
absolutely,
Care Center, right
part
now.
of the team.
Yeah, experts in every category, and I'm telling you, if you have any questions today, 571-5263, whether it be about taxes, real estate, power of attorney, give Larry Weiss a call. I guarantee you, he knows the answer. Again, Elder Advisors, don't go broke in a nursing home.
Don't do it, you don't have to.
Don't do it, you don't have to. We'll be right back with more on Wave 3 Listens Live. We'll meet you on the other side. Don't go broke in a nursing home. Elder Advisors, Larry Weiss is with us once again, and we're talking about your questions, 571-5263. If you have a question, Larry, we had someone who called in and was curious about how far do the Elder Advisors tentacles go? How far do you reach? Can you serve all of Indiana, all of Kentucky?
We pretty much work, I mean, obviously the metropolitan community of Louisville, Kentuckiana is our bread and butter. It's where we live every day. But we go throughout the state of Kentucky and the state of Indiana to file for Medicaid benefits for families. I think 2 weeks ago, Denise and I drove up to Carmel, Indiana, Westfield, Indiana, and went to a community up there to advise them we were filing for benefits. The family's still going to be paying, just to kind of let them know. Because what I find is, for nursing homes, there's really, on my business model, there's two things they really need to know. One, they want to make sure that the pay source are getting paid every month because they need to pay for the lights and stuff like that. That's important. And the other thing is simply what's going on with the application. We got notice from the state, there was a filing, what's going on. And oftentimes I find that everything just kind of goes into an abyss where no one knows anything. So that's the one thing that Denise really does such a great job is she's out in the community, she's going to the nursing homes because we want the bills paid. Usually I find the clients are doing what I suggest they need to do. I don't like to say tell them what to do, but what they need to do, pay the bills. We have to do it in a prescribed manner. Sometimes there's all kinds of different variables on what their level of income is and stuff like that. So I'm not going to get into that today for the television, but we want to make sure the bills are paid, and Denise is out there front and center to ensure that the family is paying the bill on time, doing it the correct way. And if they have questions about the status, we have an online website we can go on to and in real time give the business office managers the status on what's going on with what we've done and what the law firm has done. And we're committed to that because knowledge is power. We have to know what's going on at any time.
You will be amazed about how many of the assets you can keep.
For sure.
If you know how to play the game.
Well, and you know, it's just basically, it's like Steve, the attorney, Mr. Langdon at McNeely Stephen calls it, it's a special exceptions. You have to do it the correct way. Barbershop law says you have to sell the house, lose it. You don't have to do that. I mentioned several months ago when I had Keith Mull with Mull Title Services on here, a family was concerned about the farm. And this is a single case where not only were they able to keep the farm, but we got mom qualified for benefits and they kept the farm. But much like the Colonel, I'm not giving away my secret 11 herbs and recipes and spices today, much less on live television. But it can be done. Kentuckiana, don't prejudge your situation. It's never too late. I don't care what you've heard at the barber shop or at the beauty shop. It's well-intentioned, but it is not usually accurate. Well-intentioned, but it's not accurate. You don't have to lose everything. And it's never too late. If they're already paying $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month for the nursing home, that's why they need to come to the workshops, because we can stop that hemorrhaging of cash. I can't prevent or stop what happened 6 months at the nursing home, but I can certainly capitalize on what they have now and prevent further loss.
Moving forward.
Moving forward, we can protect it. Again, for husband and wife, we can protect all the assets. For single, we can protect half the assets. That's why it's so important to take advantage of that free workshop tonight. Come out, take a benefit of the Mr. Langdon with Mealy Stevenson being out there, giving the legal perspective. We're doing it at the 4 Points tonight at 6 o'clock at the 4 Points by Sheraton on Crittenden Drive. And again, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn.
All right, let's try to grab a phone call here. We ask for calls, and we shall receive. Lee joins us now. Lee, welcome to the show. Thanks for watching. You have a question for Larry.
Yes, Larry, I understand everything that you're talking about with nursing homes and such, but what if they're not into that position yet? What about assisted living? You still have to pay to your assisted living, correct?
Well, absolutely. If they're in the assisted living, depending on their level of care, which obviously for the television time, we don't have time to get into that, but there are certainly things that we can do on a pre-crisis planning, which oftentimes assisted living is. If they're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, we can help bring in income to help offset their out-of-pocket expense. If they're a resident of Indiana, oftentimes we can help them get the Medicaid waiver, but where Medicaid will pay for assisted living, you know, where Kentucky right now, it's pretty much next to impossible to qualify for, but we have a great deal of success helping families transition to assisted living where the state of Indiana Medicaid will pay for assisted living. And I do kind of take my hat off to Indiana with that, because I think at the end of the day, if a loved one gets to assisted living, oftentimes they can stabilize there and their level of care doesn't increase. If they get the social skill interaction, you know, just, you know, a little physical therapy and just the family being more engaged so they don't degrade, because oftentimes families keep mom at home too long and the TV is not a good babysitter. It's not a good social skill activist, you know, for the family. So there's a lot of things that can be done on the assisted living, either pre-planning for Kentucky or certainly in Indiana as well. Did that kind of answer your question, ma'am?
Wow.
Sorry, but actually you do end up in Kentucky paying for the assisted living, right?
That is correct, but there are still financial things that we can do that conform to the rules. So again, don't misjudge that. Don't assume nothing can be done. That's why you need to come out to the workshop, because then we can kind of get into more specifics.
Yeah, like you said, limited time here.
Right.
I want to talk about the Green Valley Care Center. They're about to come up here.
Yeah.
That's important. There's another thing that you can help with, the right facility for mom or dad, right?
Absolutely. Denise really spends a lot of time with placement, because families are always concerned about where mom is going, where dad is going, and we have just had a tremendous blessing with Green Valley. They take our calls, they return our calls. They do a phenomenal job with the families, and I think it was in the last year that Green Valley received, you know, a state award for excellence, 5-star rating. I'm sure they can come on and tell you a little bit more about that. But that's why I'm really glad that Green Valley is coming on, because, you know, it's always kind of intimidating, kind of maybe a little scary about the nursing home and stuff like that. Look, these are beautiful people. Some of these people worked there 20, 30 years. They care, and that tells you a lot about the community, is the people are there. There's no turnover. They take care of the people. They take care of the families. They take care care of mom and dad and answer the family's questions.
That's one thing I can vouch for here is the fact, Larry Weiss, I know I've had enough conversations with you, and I've heard from people who've worked with you, also Steve Langdon, Denise Manicky, all of these folks. Compassion's important in this business because sometimes it does go beyond 9 to 5.
Yeah, we don't give them a piece of paper and say, when you get it, come back and see me in 3 months. Well, now Dad burned through $22,000. Completely unnecessary. We're going to hit the ground running. We always stay on top of things because we treat them as if they were our parents or grandparents. There's an urgency here. We've got to get it done. We've got to get it done to preserve those assets.
Yep, don't wait any longer. You heard a couple of pieces of advice. One, get power of attorney. Secondly, attend one of these workshops. Let's put those on the screen once again. Some of the topics that'll be covered, well, just about everything,
well,
and you're open to questions too, right?
Yeah, the lady that called in was about assisted living. There are unique financial strategies that we can do to protect assets now, but certainly make sure that the bills are paid to assisted living, or if the veteran or a spouse of a veteran, we can bring in an attendance pension benefit, which will help offset their expenses anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. You need to come out to the workshop. We can talk about that there tonight. We'll be talking about that tonight.
And if you're wondering about elder advisors, just saying, well, how do they get paid? Believe me, the money that you will save, the assets that you will be able to retain are well worth the cost. We've heard that a number of times. So
if there is a fee, John.
Right, there you go.
The lady that came this morning, it's a pre-crisis plan. I'm just suggesting kind of doing this and doing that, and there actually is no fee. And like with the New Haven twins, they came in, we made as much time for them as we would anybody else. We scheduled free 1-hour consultations. Steve looked at it, looked at their legal documents, kind of pointed them in the right direction, didn't charge them anything. Well, now Mom's inheriting $400,000. There's probably going to be a little fee now, but they can afford to do it out of the spend down, and we're helping them. Otherwise, they'll lose it all, and they don't have to do that.
That's right. Yeah, there are
It's a free workshop. You know, set your DVR, come out tonight. You'll learn something.
Believe me, if you do not, and I hate to even call it a game, if you don't know how to play by the rules.
Play by the rules.
If you can't play by the rules, then you can't win. Hold on to those assets.
Well, and the thing is, the problem is the government has their rule book, John. The families need their rule book. We help them devise their rule book so they can protect their assets and do it the correct way, because it's all about rules. Everything is disclosed to the state. Okay, the problem is the state of Indiana, state of Kentucky, they play by their rule book. Don't think they don't. Okay, the families, the lady that called, the other people that call and have concern, people that are calling now to come into the workshops, they need their rule book. Steve Langdon helps them develop a legal rule book. Elder Advisors helps them develop a financial rule book so they can protect those assets and give them peace of mind.
Yep, and hold on to the assets. To protect those assets. It is important. Okay, Green Valley Care Center, you've heard a lot about them. Marcy, Mark, they're going to join us here and we'll answer some questions. 571-5263. Larry Weiss, as you can tell, very passionate about what he does with Elder Advisors. We'll be back. The Green Valley Care Center, they are an important part of the team, and they join Larry Weiss with Elder Advisors. We're going to talk a little bit about their facility, how they work with Elder Advisors. With me now is Marcy Pittman. Marcy, welcome in.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank
Marcy is a customer care specialist at Green Valley, and then Mark Furman, who is the director of rehab services, right, Mark?
That's correct.
All right, welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the relationship first. Okay, Elder Advisors, how did this relationship form, and how do you kind of work into the puzzle that he puts together?
Well, I think as you would expect, everyone has to have a payer source to be able to stay there. You know, whether it's private pay or Medicaid or Medicare or insurance. Elder Advisors helps to get that straightened out for us so that we can have a smooth transition.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your mission there. What do you think makes you different, Marcy? If you had to talk about Green Valley and you're talking to people who are maybe interested in having mom or dad stay at your facility,
I'm going to jump in and answer something here. What's really great with Marcy is, and this has probably been a year ago, I had a family call, and because they worked past 5 o'clock, or the family, Marcy came in on her own probably at 5:30 that night, met with the family, set it up, and then met the family at the facility, gave them a tour of the facility, and because answer questions I couldn't answer, what physical therapy options there are, Mark Furman. Yep. You're kind of like this. This is my love for John Ramsey because he knows how it works. I got some pocket change for you, Mark. But in any event, but yeah, they do a great job taking care of the families because the families start asking questions about physical therapy. Is Medicare going to pay for 20 days? How's 100 days work? I've heard this and that. I'm like, that's where I think Green Valley needs to come into play for that. So Marcy jumped on that, and we just kind of developed a relationship. They take our phone calls. Denise is always out trying to run checks, checking on the status of filings and stuff like that. And it's just become a great resource, much like Rutherford Moss on the accounting, Steve Langdon on the legal, senior helpers for home health care. I could go on and on. But when we were talking with my publicist, Garrett Moore, on the topics for today, I thought, I think Green Valley would be a great little segue here because they do a great job. And didn't you, in fact, get some award like last year from the state of Indiana? It was in the newspapers, in the Tribune.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, so, we were and your star rating is based on a lot of different things, your MDS assessments and things like that. we were a 5-star. I think we're like 4.5 now. I can't say for sure.
You're
so
number
there's
one
been
for
just,
me. Number one for me.
Yeah.
So, but it is based on like the care that you provide and the different MDSs, things like that.
So Mark, when you're working with Elder Advisors, we talk a lot about having...
Elder Advisors, the
Elder
Steve
Advisors.
Flanagan and McNeely
That's right.
Stevenson Law Firm.
we talk about having your estate in order, your assets in order. How important is that when they come to Green Valley?
Well, I mean, I think from a provider perspective, we treat every resident the same, no
And they
matter
do.
whether they're, we're getting reimbursed or not for that. We always try to picture every patient that we have as, our mother, our father, our
Sure.
grandmother, grandfather, and so, but it's as any business, you have to be able to.
So when a family is in crisis, so when an emergency comes up, and unfortunately this happens, whether they need rehab or whether they need long-term care, that they always ask the financial side of it because that's
Sure.
very important, and healthcare is not cheap. So if someone's coming into our care center for long-term care, you're going to go through what their insurance will do, but Medicare insurances, they don't pay for long-term care. They pay for rehab. It's more or less a short-term insurance to try to get them back home. If that doesn't happen, then they have to go into a Medicaid application. It's at that point that you have to start digging a little deeper, asking a lot more questions, and sometimes we need help. It's more than we can do.
That's right, and that's where Elder Advisors
That's
come
where
in.
we
That's
come
right.
into
Yeah.
play. And the other thing is, with Mark, to sing his credit, he's probably the last person at Green Valley that knows who the pay source is, what's going on. That's not his job.
Yep.
Right.
His is rehab, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
His job is taking care of the patient, doing that rehab. Marcy's probably going to be a little more conversant with the financials because she works at the front. But that's the thing, the same level of care, the same amount of love that they bestow on the clients and the patients is the same that they do in the rehab because they're not paying attention to who's paying, not paying, whatever.
Right.
That's not his job. And first of all, I have to say hi to Katrina. It's Katrina at reception at Green Valley. And Tanya, love Tanya. And of course, Blossom, love Blossom. Those are my main peeps. Not to take anything away from the other peeps. And of course, Marcy. And okay.
But the fact that your title exists, Customer Care Specialist, I think speaks volumes there. So for those who'd like to maybe tour Green Valley, the Green Valley Care Center, what do they need to do, Marcy?
They are welcome to tour anytime. They can give me a call, we'll schedule something. If I can find out what they're needing, then I kind of know how to lead my tour. We can do just an overall tour.
Or you can go out, and sometimes they need a home assessment before it even gets there, I think. Is that a fair statement?
If someone is admitting from home, we do a lot of times go see this person at home
Right.
just to, we always do a clinical assessment, and then there's always a financial. But yes, we can go to their home, and I have went to people's home to meet with them for paperwork or just to speak with a wife that can't drive and can't make it there. I mean, whatever needs done, we make it work.
And I would encourage families that are in that situation, because one of the big hurdles that families have emotionally is if mom or dad is still at home. And they're not being dictated by circumstances. Well, they went to the hospital and the hospital discharged them to XYZ rehab. It's already happened, but sometimes the family, to their credit, is trying to stay ahead of the curve. They're trying to stay ahead of that next fall because they know when mom falls, she's going to break a hip. And they don't know where to go. They don't know what questions to ask. So I would encourage the viewers, if you're interested in knowing more about options of placement or things like that, they can certainly call you and you go out and visit with the family. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely.
Yes, they can call, and I do encourage families to tour these facilities. So you
Of course.
pay attention to how the employees are interacting with the residents that are in that facility. Pay attention to the cleanliness of the building and look at the activity schedule and see what kind of quality of life they are providing to these residents in their building.
All right.
And they can tour anytime. We work, weekends, we'll go in, we'll do tours, whatever we need to do.
They do a phenomenal job for their families.
We've got to jump into break, but coming back,
Workshops.
we're going to show you the workshop. When we come back here, and we'll talk about the common thread that exists at Elder Advisors. We'll talk about that next on Way 3 Listens. There's the workshop. Marcy, tell us about levels of care at Green Valley.
At Green Valley Care Center, we do have a new rehab gym with 18 new private suites in a separate part of the building where we do our rehab to home, and then also we can do outpatient therapy. We have a memory care unit, specializes in Alzheimer's and dementia care, and of course we do long-term care as well.
All right. There
Louisville, Kentuckiana, don't go broke in a nursing home. Come out tonight, 6 o'clock at the 4 Points by Sheraton on Crittenden. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn. Don't go broke in a nursing home. It's never too late. Come out tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
There's the new host of the show right there, Larry.
Wave 3 listens live with John Ramsey.